Somewhere right now, someone finishes a 9-hour shift, walks to a money transfer counter, and hands over cash to send home, 5,000 miles away, to pay a child's school fees, cover a parent's medicine, or make rent before the week is out. By the time that money lands, roughly $12 out of every 200 cents is already gone, taken as a fee for moving something that was never physical to begin with. It was already just a number sitting in a database. So why does it cost anything? And why does it take days to turn that number into a different number in a different database on the other side of the planet? That question is older than banks, older than money even. It goes back to a mango. Say, I have a mango, you have a banana. I want your banana, and you want my mango. We trade, and we're both better off. Now, say my mangoes are ripe, but your bananas won't be ready for another month. I could just give you my mango now, and you promise me a banana later. That works, until you don't want a mango at all. You want a papaya. So a third guy steps in. He wants my mango, he's got a papaya to trade. I give him the mango, he gives you the papaya, you promise me your banana, and everyone walks away ahead. Scale that up to hundreds of people trading dozens of goods, and the bookkeeping collapses under its own weight. So we simplify. Instead of trading fruit for fruit, we trade fruit for tokens, a claim on future fruit, carved in clay. Give a mango, get a token. Want a banana, hand the token back. Nobody has to remember who owes what anymore. The token remembers for us. Notice what actually just happened. We didn't invent money. We invented a way to carry a promise around in your pocket.
Once tokens exist, someone starts a business. Hold your tokens safe, and they'll even pay you for the privilege. You deposit 1,000. Meanwhile, a farmer wants to expand her watermelon patch, so the business lends her 750 of those same tokens in exchange for 900 back next year. That seems safe. She's a proven farmer, she gets her irrigation system, the business earns interest, and you still have access to your 1,000 whenever you want it. Everyone makes money. But wait, everyone makes money? Where did the extra money actually come from? Trace it in a closed loop. 10 people deposit 1,000 tokens each, 10,000 total, sitting in the vault. The business lends 750 to the farmer, who spends it buying equipment from one of those same 10 depositors. That depositor now has their original balance plus the 750, while the bank still owes all 10 people their full 1,000 each, on demand. Add it up, and there are now more tokens in circulation than existed a moment ago. Nobody printed anything. The extra money appeared the instant the loan went out, the moment the same tokens started being counted as both the depositor's money and the farmer's money simultaneously. It's two roommates sharing one coffee machine. Only one coffee machine physically exists, but both of you are getting a full coffee machine's worth of use out of it. Money works the same way, except we track it per person instead of per tool. And it's exactly why central banks exist. Not to print currency, but to police how much of it commercial banks are allowed to conjure this way.
That's the why behind money. The how, physically getting it from one place to another, took 150 more years to solve. And every solution was, underneath, the same problem in a new costume. How do you get a stranger on the other side of a mountain range or an ocean to trust a number they can't see or touch? Before the Civil War, thousands of individual banks issued their own paper notes, each one only reliably worth its full value at the bank that printed it. Carry it too far from home, and a merchant might discount it, tax it, or simply refuse it. The money was real, it just couldn't travel. The National Currency Acts of the 1860s fixed part of this by linking small local banks to larger correspondent banks in big cities, letting balances settle without a single coin leaving a vault. Though even then, a surviving 1898 check for $43.56 still passed hand-to-hand through 9 separate banks before it was finally paid. The Federal Reserve Act of 1913 solved the routing problem for good, splitting the country into 12 regions, each with a central clearinghouse. Then, volume simply broke the system anyway. By the mid-1950s, American banks were processing 69 million checks a day by hand, closing branches early just to keep pace with the math. Relief came from a refrigerator-sized IBM computer called ERMA. The first machine that could read and settle a check faster and more accurately than any person ever could. And once paper itself became the bottleneck, the 1970s replaced it entirely. The automated clearinghouse network, moving instructions instead of paper.
Today, ACH alone moves over $50 trillion a year, and you've probably never thought about it once, which is, in its own way, the whole point. The best trust infrastructure is invisible. International transfers needed their own answer because ACH stops at the border. That's SWIFT, not a system that moves money, but one that moves instructions. It doesn't send dollars to Germany. It tells a German bank exactly how much to pull from an American bank's account that it already holds inside its own vault, and pay the equivalent out in euros. No money crosses an ocean, just a message and a shared agreement to believe it. It works, but at a cost. 24 to 48 hours, and a fee that often starts around $40, because every bank in that chain is being paid to accept risk on your behalf. And that risk is the entire reason any of this exists. If a private transfer company messes up a payment, it eats its own loss. Contained, survivable. But if a bank's ledger slips and money appears without a matching debit somewhere else, that's not a clerical error. That's counterfeiting the foundation everything else stands on. Every layer of friction we've just walked through exists for one reason: to guarantee a dollar can never be in two unaccounted places at once. Money isn't really a thing. It's an agreement, wearing arithmetic as a disguise. Which brings us back to that person at the transfer counter, because they're paying right now for the slowest, most expensive version of exactly this system. The World Bank's latest figures put the global average cost of sending $200 abroad at 6.36%. And if the sender uses a bank instead of a digital service, that average nearly triples toward 15%, almost 3 times the United Nations' own affordability target. Meanwhile, a newer rail is quietly rewriting the math. Stablecoins, digital tokens pegged to the dollar, moved over $33 trillion in 2025 alone, more than Visa processed in an entire year, settling in minutes for a fraction of a cent. Businesses noticed first. Cross-border B2B stablecoin payments grew 733% in a single year. Domestically, the Federal Reserve's own instant payment network, FedNow, processed $245 billion in one quarter, a 49,000% jump from the year before. And yet, for all that explosive growth, stablecoins still make up barely 1% of global payment flows. The revolution is real, and so is the inertia, both at once. So follow the whole arc. Clay tokens, paper banknotes, correspondent ledgers, punch card computers, encrypted international messages, and now programmable digital dollars settling on a blockchain. None of these ever moved an atom. Every single one was a faster, more convincing way to make a promise between strangers feel as solid as a mango in your hand. Which means that person from the beginning, the one who just lost $12 out of $200, isn't really paying a transfer fee. They're paying the toll on humanity's oldest bridge, the one built to carry trust between two people who will never meet. We've been rebuilding that bridge for 10,000 years, in clay, in paper, in silicon. We'll keep rebuilding it, because it was never really the money we were trying to move. It was always, only ever, the trust.